When was the last time you stopped to listen to that little girl who lives inside of you? That innocent, vulnerable part of you, full of dreams and hopes that you may have ignored for years. Carl Jung, one of the most revolutionary thinkers in modern psychology, discovered that within each of us dwells this inner girl. This essential part of our psyche longs to be seen, heard, and above all, loved. Today, I want to speak directly to that inner girl. This will be more than just a video. It will be a love letter, one that could change everything for you. Imagine for a moment that you could go back in time and meet your 7-year-old self. What would you say to her? Would you hug her? Or perhaps, like many of us, would you look at her with a certain indifference, too preoccupied with the demands of the adult world? Jung discovered something fascinating. That little girl never left. She's still there, influencing every decision you make, every relationship you build, every tear you shed. And when we choose to ignore her, when we decide her needs aren't as important as other people's expectations, we begin a painful process of disconnection from our purest essence. Jung's theory of psychological development speaks of individuation, a vital process through which we become whole and integrated beings. But how can we reach this state of wholeness if we've turned our backs on such a fundamental part of ourselves? This inner girl, with all her wounds, desires, and immense capacity to love, does not need to be silenced. She needs to be embraced. Take a moment to reflect. How many of your current decisions are driven by the need to please others? How many times have you silenced that little inner voice suggesting a different path? Jung warned us about this. He called it living a false life, an existence built around what he called the persona, the social mask we wear to fit in, to be accepted, to survive in a world that seems to reward us for being anything but authentic. But there's a price to pay, a price that shows up in that persistent feeling of emptiness, in those moments of unexplained restlessness, in that recurring question that wakes you in the middle of the night. Is this really what I want for my life? Your inner girl knows the answer. She always has. The problem is, we've learned to mistrust her, to see her as naive, impractical, a dreamer with no place in this responsible, realistic adult world. Jung challenged that idea. For him, true wisdom did not come from suppressing parts of ourselves, but from integrating them, from initiating a dialogue with our unconscious, where these forgotten, repressed, or ignored parts of our being dwell. But how do we begin this dialogue? How do we reconnect with that inner girl after years, perhaps decades, of pushing her into the shadows of our psyche? The answer begins with something so simple and yet so profoundly transformative: listening. Listen to the emotions that arise when you least expect them. Listen to that discomfort you feel in certain situations or around certain people. Listen to those recurring dreams, those fantasies, those desires that you may have dismissed as nonsense or whims. Jung developed a fascinating method for this internal dialogue: active imagination. It's a state similar to meditation, where you allow images, thoughts, and emotions to rise freely from your unconscious, creating a direct communication with those forgotten parts of yourself. Imagine for a moment sitting face to face with your inner girl. What would she say to you? What does she need? What wounds are still open and waiting to be healed? Maybe she would speak of that time you felt abandoned, or when you learned that your emotions were too much for others to handle. Maybe she'd remind you how you used to dance without worrying who was watching, or how you dreamed of adventures that now seem impossible. This conversation is not an empty exercise in nostalgia. For Jung, it was the beginning of a deep process of healing and transformation. Because only when we recognize and accept all parts of ourselves, even the ones we've tried to deny or hide, can we begin to live a truly whole and authentic life. This love letter to your inner girl begins with a simple acknowledgement. You're there. I see you. Your voice matters. So often, we try to silence our inner girl with external achievements, with relationships that distract us, with subtle or obvious addictions. We search outside for what can only be found within, that feeling of wholeness, of peace, of finally being home. Jung used the term shadow to refer to everything we repress or deny within ourselves. And paradoxically, the more we try to run from our shadow, the more power it has over us. It shows up in destructive behaviors, in toxic relationships, in decisions we know don't serve us, yet we keep making them again and again. Does this sound familiar? That feeling of being trapped in patterns you know hurt you, but that seem impossible to break? That cycle of relationships that always end the same way? That tendency to self-sabotage just when you're about to reach what you want most? Jung offered us a revolutionary perspective. These patterns are not accidents or character flaws. They are messages. The way your unconscious, where your inner girl resides, tries to communicate with you. She is desperately trying to tell you something you need to hear. The inner girl, as part of your unconscious, does not speak the rational language of the adult world. She speaks in symbols and dreams, in those intuitions we often dismiss as foolish, and above all, she speaks through our emotional reactions, especially the ones that feel disproportionate or inexplicable. Have you ever felt an inexplicable anger over a seemingly harmless comment? Or an overwhelming sadness over something that, rationally, shouldn't affect you that much? These are moments when your inner girl is screaming. She's reacting to something that reminds her of an old wound, a moment when you felt small, helpless, unloved, or unvalued. And she will keep screaming until you decide to listen to her, until you give her the safe space she needs to express what she has kept buried for so long. But listening is not enough. The true challenge and the greatest gift you can give yourself is to learn to love her unconditionally, with the same tenderness and patience you would offer a real child who is hurt, scared, or confused. Jung taught us that this kind of self-love is not selfish. In fact, it is the foundation of all true love we can offer to others. Because how can we give what we do not have? How can we offer compassion, understanding, and acceptance if we haven't learned to give those things to ourselves first? The most beautiful paradox Jung discovered is that when we finally choose ourselves, when we decide to honor that inner girl above external expectations, we don't become more selfish, but rather more capable of genuine love. We no longer love from a place of lack, of desperate need for approval, but from fullness, from a place of inner abundance. This is where true transformation begins, when you stop seeking external validation and begin to nourish yourself with your own inner light. When you realize that the most important opinion about you is your own. When you finally decide that you deserve love and respect, starting with the love and respect you give yourself. This inner shift inevitably reflects in your outer world. Jung called this synchronicity, that mysterious and meaningful coincidence between your inner state and external events. When you begin to honor your inner truth, the world seems to reorganize itself around you. New opportunities appear. People who resonate with your authenticity show up. Doors that once seemed closed begin to open. It's not magic, though it may feel like it. It's the natural result of aligning your outer life with your inner truth, of finally living in coherence with who you truly are. But this path is not without challenges. When you decide to honor your inner girl, when you begin to set healthy boundaries, express your needs, and follow your own inner compass, not everyone will understand. Some may even resist, try to make you doubt yourself, accuse you of having changed too much. And the truth is, you have changed. You've begun to break a silent pact. You may not have even realized you made the agreement to stay small, to not take up too much space, to always put others' needs above your own. Jung warned us about this resistance. He called it the collective shadow, society's tendency to reject those who dare to live authentically, who challenge the unspoken rules of how we should behave, of what is considered proper or acceptable. But he also assured us that this challenge is an essential part of the individuation process. It's the test you must pass to reclaim your right to be who you truly are. And most importantly, you are not alone on this path. Throughout history, countless people have embarked on this journey toward authenticity. They chose to listen to their inner girl, to honor their truth, to live from their purest essence. And while every path is unique, There is an invisible community of brave souls who understand exactly what you're going through. Imagine for a moment a world where each of us had the courage to love and honor our inner girl. A world where no one felt the need to wear masks, to pretend to be someone they're not, to sacrifice their truth in order to fit in or be accepted. Jung dreamed of that world. He believed that true social transformation begins with individual transformation, that every person who dares to live authentically is contributing to a profound shift in the collective consciousness. So this love letter to your inner girl is not just an act of self-care. It's a revolutionary act. It's your way of contributing to a more conscious, more compassionate, more authentic world. But where do you begin? How do you start this journey of reconnection with your inner girl? The first step is simple, though not always easy. Acknowledge her existence. Recognize that this vulnerable, spontaneous, creative, and emotional part of you is not a flaw to be overcome, but a valuable source of wisdom, creativity, and genuine connection. Jung proposed different methods for establishing that contact. One of them was through dreams, those windows into the unconscious where our inner girl often appears as a recurring character. Paying attention to your dreams, keeping a journal of them, can be a powerful way to begin that dialogue. Another method is creativity. Art in all its forms is a language the unconscious understands perfectly. Drawing, writing, dancing, singing, any creative expression can become a bridge to your inner girl. There are also moments of play, those sacred spaces where you allow yourself lightness, spontaneity, joy without purpose. For Jung, play was not a waste of time, but a fundamental psychological necessity, a way to nourish essential aspects of our psyche that the adult world tends to devalue. And of course, there is meditation, this space of silence, where you can hear the subtlest voices of your inner being. It's not about silencing the mind, but about creating a space where all parts of you can express themselves freely, including that girl you may have ignored for far too long. But perhaps the most powerful method is simply intention, the conscious intention to reconnect, to listen, to honor, the firm decision to no longer abandon yourself, to no longer ignore that inner voice that has always tried to guide you toward your most authentic truth. Because, as Jung discovered, that inner girl is not just a wounded part of you that needs healing. She is also your most direct connection to what he called the self, that divine core, that transcendent essence that dwells within each of us. In mythology and fairy tales, the divine child appears again and again as a symbol of transformation, renewal, and infinite possibility. It is the promise of a new beginning, a life lived from your most essential truth. Your inner girl is that divine child, that luminous being who, despite the wounds, despite the disappointments, despite all the times she was silenced or ignored, is still there, patiently waiting for you to decide to give her the space, the voice, and the love she deserves. The integration process Jung proposed is not about going back to childhood, but about bringing that vital energy, that authenticity, that capacity for wonder, and that connection to your truest desires into the present. It's about reunifying what was fragmented, healing what was hurt, illuminating what remained in the shadows. It is a process that requires courage, the willingness to look honestly at both your light and your shadows, to accept all parts of yourself, even those you once judged, rejected, or tried to hide. But the gift that awaits you on the other side of this journey is priceless, a sense of wholeness, of inner peace, of finally being at home within yourself, a renewed capacity to love genuinely, to create freely, to live fully. Jung called this the realization of the self, a state in which all parts of us are finally in harmony, where we have integrated our shadows, honored our wounds, and reclaimed our most authentic light. It is a journey that lasts a lifetime. There is no final destination, no moment when you can say, "There, I've completely made it." It is rather a continuous path of self-discovery, of integration, of an ever-deepening love for all parts of your being. But every step on this path brings its own gifts. Every time you choose to listen to your inner girl instead of ignoring her, every time you honor your deepest needs instead of sacrificing them to please others, every time you allow yourself to be authentic instead of hiding behind a mask, you are moving closer to that wholeness, that inner peace that is your birthright. So this is my love letter to your inner girl. You are here. You matter. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to be honored. You deserve to be loved exactly as you are. And if you've come this far with me on this journey, maybe it's because a part of you is ready to hear this message, ready to embark on this journey home, back to your most essential truth, back to your purest authenticity. Jung taught us that the unconscious is always working in our favor, gently guiding us toward our greatest fulfillment. Maybe it's not a coincidence that you're watching this video right now. Maybe it's one of those meaningful synchronicities, a nudge from the universe, an invitation to take that step a part of you has been waiting so long to take. You're ready to write your own love letter to your inner girl, to begin that healing dialogue that can transform every aspect of your life. The time is now. You don't need to wait for more information, more resources, more time. Everything you need is already within you. That girl waiting to be seen, heard, loved. That divine self waiting to be realized. Jung showed us the path, a path that is not walked with the mind alone, but with the heart, the soul, and every part of our being. A path that leads us back to our most authentic essence, to that luminous truth that has always been there, patiently waiting for us to be ready to claim it. Your inner girl has waited long enough. It's time to welcome her home. I invite you to do a simple but deeply transformative exercise. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this inner girl. Visualize her clearly, her face, her expression, her posture. How old is she? What is she wearing? What emotions do you see in her eyes? Now imagine yourself approaching her. How does she react? Does she hide? Does she look at you with distrust? Or maybe she runs into your arms with joy. Whatever her reaction, approach her with love, with patience, with complete acceptance. Tell her that you are here now, that you will not abandon her again, that her voice matters, that her needs are valid, that her dreams deserve to be pursued. This is more than just a visualization exercise. It's the beginning of a deep process of healing and transformation. It's your commitment to this essential part of you that may have waited a lifetime to finally be seen, heard, honored, and loved. The path to authenticity, to the full expression of who you truly are, begins with this act of love, with this love letter to your inner girl, who, as Jung taught us, holds the power to change everything. If this message resonated with you, if it touched a deep chord within your being, I invite you to share it, not just this video, but this intention, this commitment to authenticity. Imagine a world where every person had the courage to honor their inner truth. Isn't that the transformation our world so desperately needs? So leave your comment below. Tell me how you felt hearing these words. Share your own experience of reconnecting with your inner girl. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear, to take that first step on their own journey. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell, because this is only the beginning of a deep conversation about the journey to authenticity, to the full expression of who we truly are. Never underestimate the transformative power of choosing yourself, of honoring your truth, of loving unconditionally every part of your being, including that girl you may have ignored for far too long. As Jung taught us, the fate of all humanity is inseparably linked to the fate of each individual. Every time you choose authenticity over conformity, truth over comfort, self-love over external approval, you are contributing to a transformation that goes far beyond the limits of your personal life. You are taking part in nothing less than the evolution of human consciousness. And that, dear courageous soul, is the most precious gift you can offer the world. So let us allow ourselves, individually and collectively, to write this love letter to our inner girl, a letter that begins with a simple but profound recognition. You are here. I see you. Your voice matters. And above all, I love you exactly as you are. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Until the next video, and remember, your inner girl is waiting for you. It's time to welcome her home.